There are places on Earth where nature wants to kill you. Not with earthquakes. Not with tsunamis. Not with war. Just with the air itself. Imagine stepping outside. You take a breath. And the air hits your lungs like thousands of tiny shards of glass. You blink. Your eyelashes begin to freeze. The phone in your pocket slowly dies. Metal becomes something you never want to touch. And the car you just turned off might never start again. This is not Antarctica. Not an isolated research station. Not a place where people arrive and then leave. This is where they live. Every day. Every winter. Deep within Russia's Siberian wilderness lies Yakutsk. The coldest city ever built on permafrost. And even farther away, Oymyakon. A small village trapped inside the cold. A place where temperatures once dropped low enough to turn human breath into crystals. But here's the strangest part. After living there long enough, people begin to think, -20 degrees is actually a pretty pleasant day. The question isn't, how cold does it get there? It's, why do people stay? There's a very simple rule humanity learned a long time ago. If you want to build a city, find stable ground. Rock. Solid earth. Something that doesn't move. Yakutsk has none of that. The city sits on something called permafrost. A layer of earth that has remained frozen for so long. People forget it was ever soil at all. In some places, it has been locked in ice for tens of thousands of years. But there's a problem. Permafrost isn't truly permanent. It's only sleeping. If heat from a building warms the frozen ground beneath it, the foundation can begin to shift. Slowly. Almost invisibly. Then one day, cracks appear in the walls. Floors tilt by a few centimeters. Doors no longer close properly. Imagine building a home, and your greatest enemy is the ground itself. That's why the entire city has to be lifted above the earth. Buildings stand on giant stilts. Not for design. Not for beauty. But because if they get too close to the ground, human heat itself will destroy the place they live. 7 a.m. The sky is still dark. You're getting ready for work. And at this point, you have to dress like you're preparing for space. Nobody wears one layer. Nobody wears two. Each layer of clothing is added like another layer of armor. Make one small mistake, and the cold reminds you immediately. Moisture from your breath begins to freeze. Your eyelashes turn white. Your mustache fills with ice crystals. And if you take your gloves off for too long, the countdown begins. Not hours. Not even tens of minutes. Just minutes. And strangely enough, nobody here treats it like a fight for survival. Children still go to school. Adults still go to work. Life goes on. When you live somewhere long enough, the thing that once terrified you becomes normal. Extreme cold doesn't just affect people. It changes the way the world behaves. Phone batteries drain faster. Metal becomes brittle. Machines react more slowly. Engine oil thickens. And then there are things that sound like glitches in reality itself. Boiling water can freeze almost instantly. The city is covered in a strange kind of fog. Not clouds. Not smoke. But billions of microscopic ice crystals, suspended in the air. As if the sky itself is freezing solid. But if Yakutsk is a cold city, then Oymyakon is a test. A small village. Remote. Silent. And famous for one reason alone. Cold beyond reason. Some mornings, the thermometer almost refuses to go any lower. Yet people still live here. They raise animals. Go to school. Drive to work. Get married. Have children. Grow old. Human beings are strange creatures. We adapt to almost anything. Even places where we were never meant to survive. For thousands of years, humanity has tried to conquer nature. Climb higher mountains. Travel farther. build bigger. But here, nature doesn't need to fight back. It only has to wait. Wait for you to forget how powerful it really is. There's an unspoken rule in places this cold. Never travel alone. Never go unprepared. And never underestimate distance. On a map, two places may only be separated by a few dozen kilometers. A small number. A short drive. But in Siberia, distance isn't measured in kilometers. It's measured by how long you can survive. If your vehicle breaks down in winter, the story changes very quickly. Not because you're in the middle of a forest. Not because of wild animals. But because around you, there is absolutely nothing. No trees. No lights. No human voices. Only wind. And out there, the wind doesn't just make you colder. It steals heat from your body faster. So fast that time itself seems to shrink. One small decision. One wrong turn. One dead engine. One moment of thinking, I'll be fine. Sometimes, that's all nature needs. For thousands of years, the cold kept everything frozen in place. Ancient forests, animals long extinct, things that belong to another world. But what happens when that frozen lock begins to open? Beneath the permafrost, time itself has slept for tens of thousands of years. And in some places, time is waking up. Imagine digging into the ground and touching something that last saw sunlight before humans ever built cities. In this region, that has actually happened. The cold once preserved the past. Now, the past is returning. After everything, the strangest thing about Yakutsk and Oymyakon isn't the temperature. Not minus 50 degrees. Not the frozen fog. Not the endless white roads. It's the people. Human beings are incredibly strange creatures. We can turn the impossible into routine. Some people are born here, grow up here, fall in love here, build entire lives here. And one day, they look at the rest of the world and think, wow, it's hot there. For most of history, humanity believed we conquered nature. We built cities. We redirected rivers. We flew through the skies. But there are places that remind us everything is only a temporary agreement. In Yakutsk, in Oymyakon, humans do not defeat nature. They simply learn to live with it. And maybe, that's the most terrifying thing of all.